Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Pillow Fright Podcast. I'm Elissa.
I'm Kay.
And I'm Emma.
And we are your three besties here to keep you in the loop with all things horror in a virtual setting.
Yeah, we're living our post-convention crud quarantine lives right now. So sorry for the virtual episode this week.
It's too bad we're not doing host or something. And it'd be like, it's a theme. Don't ask questions.
When we do host, we will do it this way, and I will hire ghosts to pop out. But I really want Jamiroquai to play right now, just in the background. Futures made of virtual insanity. We're talking about Jamiroquai today on today's episode.
So did you guys watch anything this week?
You know, for being bedridden, you'd think that would be a great opportunity, but no. I'm not exciting this week. So.
Is the only one that was not bedridden. I'm the only one that watched a shit ton of stuff.
No, that's good. I wish I did. I saw the House of Dragons finale and the Boys finale finally. That's about it.
I snuck and saw Trap.
Oh, was it your favorite movie of the year?
No, it wasn't. But you know what? They made a movie.
Kind of sad because the reviews are really rough, and I don't know. I like the trailer. That's why I'm kind of disappointed.
It's barely a movie, and I hate to say that. The trailer shows the best parts, and everything else is just a big old mess.
That's the thing that I heard. I heard a couple things, and they both said the same thing, that if you watch the trailer, you watch the movie.
Yes and no, but anything that's not in the trailer is not worth watching. You're like, okay, there's not an end. Oh, it's ending. No, nope. There's another 45 minutes. Awesome.
Oh, well, as long as Josh Hartnett's walking around. And,
he was okay in it.
I love him.
It wasn't his return to glory that I was hoping for, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah, as long as he's back in the Earth realm of film. My brain's not working today, but as long as his presence is known and the youths see him and know who he is without the haircut of the 90s, I'm cool with that. I'm happy he's back.
The youths must know.
They must know the power of the Josh Hartnett effed up bowl haircut.
Also, not a horror movie. Anyway, Kay, did you see anything?
Oh, I was going to make
so I watched Abigail the first night, the next day when we were recovering from the con. So I did fall asleep during it and then had to go back and rewatch it. But I hadn't seen it in movie theaters, and I was actually pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, this movie's kind of fun. It's not trying to be an Oscar-winning phenomenon. It's just hey, we're going to do a different take on a vampire movie. And it was a little bit ridiculous, but I think the cast wise, everyone did a good job. And I really do like those actors. I'm going to be blanking bad at their names right now. But Melissa Pereira looked amazing. She looked so hot in that film. Her outfit, her outfit choices, I was like, all right, Amazon shopping list right there. I love Dan Stevens. He's so creepy, but in a great way. He plays a good piece of shit. You want to add that to your repertoire. And Kevin Durand is also I don't know, I just want to hug that guy.
I really like him from that TV show The Strain.
Ooh.
Did you guys watch that?
Yeah, he was great in The Strain. Another vampire, but a whole nother take on it, which is fun. I thought it was fun. If you're just looking for a fun movie where you're with blood, but also a watchable plot, great. I liked it.
That's all I
And
need.
then for more indie horror, I watched Baghead, which was, I actually thought it was good. I didn't know what to expect. Effects, makeup, the makeup choices were great. It wasn't horror, jump scare horror, but a little bit on that, family trauma, generational trauma type of thing, and loss, but dealing with it in a way because people don't deal with it. And then you get demons. So Baghead, I think, was actually really good. That one was on Shudder. Abigail is streaming exclusively on Peacock. And then I also last night watched Idle Hands, which I hadn't seen in a while. And I won't say anything about it because I feel like at some point we're going to have to cover that movie. But like effects wise, it holds up. And then I looked up how old Seth Green was and it broke my heart inside. Like I was like, oh God, but I remember him from when I was a child.
Yeah. Well, he still looks like a child, so.
He does, but I think it actually really threw me when I rewatched It, the original It, and I was like, wait, this movie was made before I was born. How is he in it? And how is he like over the age of 10? And my brain was just like, no, Oz can't be. What's going on? You are a high schooler, sir.
Yeah, he will forever play a high schooler.
I watched a lot of true crime, like while I was sick in bed, and I was like, I don't know if my soul needed this, but
no, I feel like that's the perfect time to do it, and then chug NyQuil and then pass out and see what your dreams are like.
Oh, I did so much of that. I was like drinking NyQuil like water.
We should have cheers NyQuil today,
right? So I feel like we should talk about Midsummer Scream a little bit because we did a lot. I was there pretty much all week because I set up not just my clothing company booth, but also the Slasher Size booth. And then we did a fashion show that Elissa choreographed. And then we did the Slasher Size live show, which Kay pretty much wrote, right? I don't know what the process was there.
Yeah, me and Vanessa collaborated on a story and script, but also because it's in a live setting, we wanted to have like, this is what we want to say, but we also have to play with, what the audience wants, because especially a Midsummer Scream audience, like in the first time doing something, you never know how they're going to react. And honestly, I think they actually reacted great. Because it can go two ways. It can go. Yeah,
I heard great things.
Go awesome. There was a little girl that ran up and joined in at the end. And we were like, all right, if the kids get involved, that's a good sign.
And you did a whole burlesque show as well, right?
I did. Apparently, I'm very, very bummed because the people who were able to make it got turned away at the door because it was sold out. There's no more room. It was a haunted mansion theme with Peep Show Menagerie. It's one of the burlesque groups I do shows for, and one of the producers is Chris Beyond. So if you listen or watch this, Chris Beyond, love you. And I did the Hatbox Ghost, and I'm really hoping I can get a hold of at least a photo because that was unexpectedly the best routine I've ever done. I did it dick in a box, but I edited like my own version of head in a box, and it was so stupid. So I really hope I could get a hold of footage because it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's exciting. Nobody filmed it?
So there was a professional photographer. I think he was supposed to get filmed, but Chris doesn't know if he actually did. And I didn't know anybody who saw it, so I wasn't able to ask for photos from anybody. So if anybody is watching this or listening and they randomly happen to see it, I would love to have some footage. Except just unless you did like creepy like titty footage, then I don't know what to tell you with that. But yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then we got a little bit of time to run around and do like the Hall of Shadows, which was super cool.
That was my first time doing that.
They really did go all out. Almost everyone I talked to was like, did you go through Lionsgate? Did you go through Lionsgate? I think that one was definitely the fan favorite.
Is that the one we went through?
No.
Oh, okay.
We went through,
the one with Toy Story?
Yeah, but I can't remember the name of it.
That one was so random. It reminded me of like a foreign theme park, how they try to do like American films, but they don't know like what genres what. It was really cool.
But that little girl was...
Oh, she was terrifying.
Feral. And she was working harder than anyone at that con.
Good for her, man. I hope
someone said, one of the other actors in Slasher Size said that when she went through, that little girl went through the entire maze with her, like would not leave her side. I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because that little girl was terrifying. But sometimes I remember that happened to me at Queen Mary. There was a little girl because one of the Queen Mary haunted things is because of little dead girl. And so one of the little girl actors followed me through the entire maze when I went, and then like exited with me. And I was like, she's going to push me down the stairs. I was like, because she was like, no, you can't leave. You're my best friend. And I was like, she's going to murder me. Like she is going to die. She is in character. She's method. I'm getting taken out.
There was no little girl.
No, I was like, what?
There was no girl.
It's just me.
Actor.
I'm just going to live on the Queen Mary. None of this is real. I'm going to wake up now. But it's really fun to get like, because I remember originally Midsummer Scream was about, a lot of it was about small haunts, like home haunts, things that you're going to find on the SoCal Haunt List, which for anyone who doesn't know, SoCal Haunt List is a compilation of haunts and backyard and front yard displays in the Southern California area. And they do it by map. They categorize it by like free, paid, walkthrough, kid friendly, not kid friendly. And they would showcase a lot of those and like smaller haunt attractions. It's just recently that the big names have gotten involved. Lionsgate doing one is that's pretty new. But of course, the lines for the smaller ones were still just as long. Like people want to see all of them and support them. And there have been some really, really great ones, especially in years past. There was a Blockbuster Video one last year that was awesome. And there's been a couple that I've only gone to the real haunts because I saw them at Midsummer Scream. And it's really great to promote these like passion project artists who are making these, or haunters, I guess. But it's still, even the one other thing I noticed about like the haunt area is that there was still more of a photo op incorporation. Yeah. And I think that was a big theme for the entire con this year was like photo ops were king. We did some really good ones. Universal, their Monsters one was great. They did, the individual little photo ops, and then Paramount Scares, which I'm guessing is new because I had not. But it's not on their app. And I was like, hey, if you're telling me Paramount Scares exists, put it on your app so I can watch my horror movies on it. Maybe it's something that's going to be coming this Halloween and they're kind of like teasing it. But yeah, they had a really great Jason setup. Same with, and then like, of course, every year, Haunted Hayride and Queen Mary do a photo op, except for Queen Mary last year, it was Shacktoberfest. That's gone. Oh my God. Queen Mary's back.
I love Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not going to lie.
I told you in fourth grade, when you have to do a presentation as like a celebrity, I think that was a common thing. And you had like to practice your speech giving. I decided I wanted to be Shaquille O'Neal. So I bought a whole jersey and I remember going, hi, I'm Shaquille O'Neal. I wear a size 15 shoe and I'm this tall. And everyone thought I was crazy and I cried afterwards, but I love it. Cool story, bro.
He's got a lot of money and he puts his name on stuff. Like, honestly, considering there's billionaires that are doing just like stuff where it's like you could be Batman and you're committing atrocities, but like all Shaq wants to do is just like, hey, I want to be a DJ today, so I'm going to buy a music festival so I can DJ. Hey, I like Halloween, man. Let me buy a Halloween. Like, I'm fine, man.
Let me buy Halloween.
I loved his video game when I was a kid, the Shaq Fu one.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Oh my gosh.
And he did like a whole like pretty hardcore rap album with the Wu-Tang Clan. Also kind of great.
I love him.
Was this before or after he was a genie?
Before, I think.
Now there's that Mandela effect. He was Shazam or Kazam? No, he was Shazam. No, he was Kazam, right?
Only one of those existed.
Which one? I know. No, there was one with Sinbad.
That's the one that doesn't exist.
I will show a picture.
It doesn't exist in this universe.
And by the end of the episode, I will share it because we have that capability now.
Glad we're really progressing into our movie. We're just talking shit about Shaquille O'Neal.
Hey, listen.
In Scary Movie, mad respect. I'm not cool enough.
In Scary Movie, she says, "What's your favorite scary movie?" Shazam. Oh yeah, it is Shazam because she says Shazam. Nope, Kazam.
It's Kazam.
Shazam is a movie.
I found a screenshot. It's Sinbad.
A superhero
Shazam.
movie.
I'm going to save it. We can move on, but I will save it.
He's awesome in Jingle All the Way.
Oh, Jingle All the Way is the shit.
I wish we could cover that movie this year.
I mean, side project. Anyway.
All right, let's get into the news. What do you guys got?
So I don't know if y'all saw the finale of House of Dragons last night. Won't talk about it because it's fresh, even though it was leaked on TikTok. But they showed a trailer, a first look at Welcome to Derry. And I believe it's a prequel to the Andy Muschietti films. And I guess Bill Skarsgård was not supposed to be Pennywise. I didn't know that, but I guess he is now or something.
Flip-flopped a
Is
little,
that
I
what?
think.
Oh, okay. I wonder if he would have done it if he didn't. But there is you will insert the little teaser to watch because I think it's awesome. It's going to be in 2025, and Muschietti will be directing 4 of them.
For the episodes?
I believe so. Yeah, he'll be directing 4 episodes, which I think is awesome.
I'm excited for the show. I
think it's
will
gonna be
take
good.
anything made in Maine or made about Maine.
I just want to live there.
No, you don't. There's nothing to do there.
I don't care. My heart belongs in that environment. I'll make something to do. I'll become besties with Stephen King.
My mom and him were buddies back in the day, but
cool.
I never have been cool with Stephen King.
Oh,
I've seen him,
man.
but never really talked to him or anything.
Did he glow like a god that he is of horror?
No, I think he was like, the first time I saw him was at like an IHOP when I was 6.
Did he glow from the sweats?
Yeah. He was like, hi, you know.
Hi, huh?
Nope. My mom was like, say hi to Stephen King. And I was like, I don't know who the fuck Stephen King is. That man looks creepy and I don't want nothing to do
Oh, perfect. I love
He's going to be so delighted.
Cool. Who's next?
So we have a new horror documentary coming out. It's called Monster Girls, and it's celebrating women in special effects. And it's being led by not only a fan favorite, but also a personal, like, we love her. We support her here. Diana Prince, aka Darcy the Mail Girl. She is going to be narrating the documentary from filmmaker and effects artist Jessie Seitz. So Jessie Seitz of Jacob's Wife, Beyond Horror, the history and subculture of red films. You might know Diana Prince from, of course, Last Drive-In with Joe Bob, but also Slasher Size. She's also part of the Killer Fitness crew. So Jessie Seitz talked a little bit about where this project came from. Essentially, she said, I was having trouble finding any sort of definitive list of women in my field. I started sifting through IMDb pages and was shocked to find so many women behind some of cinema's most iconic looks. All I can think was, why haven't I heard of them? So then she made this film. And of course, like, that is a big issue. Not only is it hard for effects people to even, be the household name if you're not Tom Savini, if you're not at that level, but especially hard for women in the field. I know when I first came out here and was working with already established female effects artists, that's some of the things they told me is, your kit has to be all black. You have to do this. You have to, be like this, just to make sure that, that men don't push you down. And, it sucks, but we're in 2024 now, and that's just not the way things work anymore. So let's celebrate some female creators and female horror creators. What I'm really excited is some of my favorites, which is going to be V. Neal. V. Neal is one of my favorite female effects artists. Everyone has seen her work in Beetlejuice and Face Off, where she was for many seasons one of the judges. I saw her at do a talk about Beetlejuice, and she's incredibly inspirational, incredibly passionate, and just an extremely, extremely talented artist. So getting to hear her talk more about her work, also in Batman, iconic Penguin and Catwoman looks, I'm really excited to see more of this female perspective.
I love V. Neal.
Yeah.
She also did a couple of my favorite things in the world. She did Lost Boys and Buffy, and she's delightful. I met her upstairs at her Legends Academy. I think she teaches in Valley Village, and I went with Tommy. He introduced me to her, and she is wonderful. I'm very excited about this. So
I'm very, very proud of Jessie. She's a good friend of mine, and she's worked on this tirelessly for several years. Very DIY. And she lives in the Midwest, and she's always traveling out here by train sometimes to come film.
Oh.
And, like she did the makeup for my short film, Don't F with Anne Margaret. And she did like the head explosion thing. And she like came straight from like shooting on her documentary to like doing effects for my short, and then like went home to go start early in the morning again on her doc. So
That's awesome.
She's so rad. I'm so proud of her.
That's really cool.
So, hell yeah, for female filmmakers and effects artists, and something that celebrates both. All right, last in our news this week, we have Jenna Ortega in talks to sign on to a top secret J.J. Abrams movie. It's going to be for Warner Brothers, and he spilled it to Deadline today. But they're in final talks, which means I guess she's going to sign on. Glenn Powell, that sexy, sexy man, is also starring in it.
What is
we
it
don't
right
know.
now?
He's in everything.
I can't.
He's in
place his
everything.
face. Yeah, I can't. place
I'm
his
okay.
face.
Are you guys okay with it? Because I'm really okay with it.
Who's Glenn Powell?
What?
I have not seen a single thing that he's been in.
I don't think I
He
have
doesn't
either.
do enough horror. I could not name us. I know he's been in things, and none of them I have seen.
Yeah. Show
He
a
stars the new
picture.
Twisters movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You guys are just like, what's a Glenn Powell? And I'm like, do you not have vaginas?
He's not my type.
Is he the prime minister?
He's everybody's type.
I could not pick him out of a wall of white men.
Then you're doing it wrong. Because that man has abs on top of his abs.
I can't
Anyway,
wait to
well,
see
he's
this
gonna do
Glenn
a genre
Powell.
movie. Here we go. So
Then maybe I'll watch him.
right. So the only thing that they know so far is few details are known about the movie, other than it is not a time travel movie.
Okay.
Random. J.J. Abrams wrote the script, and his movie company Bad Robot is producing. That we don't know if it's going to be a horror movie. We don't know if it's going to be a sci-fi movie. We don't know if it's an IP that already exists. Other than they're getting two really big names in cinema in general right now to be in a J.J. Abrams movie. Well,
That's cool.
Pretty cool. But speaking of sci-fi, we've got a whole new month to get into.
Yes, we do, Emma. Yes, we do.
We've been calling it behind the scenes our month of Spaceship Slaughters. I don't know if that's the technical name, but that's just what we're going with right now.
You know, you can't go wrong with alliteration, so anything with alliteration works.
Truly. Let's get into our first film of the month and our first sci-fi horror crossover on the podcast so far. We're talking the 1997 Paul W.S. Anderson masterpiece, Event Horizon.
Event Horizon! One of my favorites from the 90s sci-fi horror. Ooh, so many memories with that movie.
You know, before we go straight to the movie, I gotta be real. A blind spot in my like film knowledge is anything sci-fi, because I am not a sci-fi person. So honestly, like, this is a month of firsts for me, which I know, being
Excited.
the know-it-all asshole that I am, is rare. But yeah. So this was a first time watch for me.
It was a first
I'd
time?
never seen it.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea. I want to know impressions from a first time watch, because I'm so nostalgic with this movie that I still see things in my mind as I did as a kid. So it's really interesting knowing, obviously CGI tech has advanced since then, but I thought it looked really, it wasn't bad in this movie. And
No,
oof,
not for the time.
scared the life out of me.
Yeah, it did. I was so shocked
Isn't
because
it
honestly, a lot of these sci-fi spaceship movies, like I'm also going to admit something else. I watched Alien for the first time ever yesterday as well.
I really, really want to watch sequels with y'all so bad.
I
So
I
bad.
tend to find these like outer space movies kind of boring, and I thought that Event Horizon was going to be that. But then the last act, I was like, oh my God, what am I watching?
Oh, it's intense, and it has a freaking banned scene in it, a scene that was banned because of how
I
messed up
can't
it
wait
was.
to talk about all that, because yeah,
Me too.
I was reading a lot of 25th anniversary articles this morning that talked about a lot of that. So interesting. But yeah, I was texting Kay at like 1 a.m, and I was like, this movie's fucking bonkers. And I had no
It's
idea.
intense.
Had no, I was just like, at first I'm like trying to like pay attention because space jargon. Like, I don't know what the fuck any of these assholes are talking about. I can't tell anybody apart. Then it gets wild, and then I was there for it.
Space horror gets bananas. Like, you think it's just, oh, space, we're in space, we're going to talk about science, Star Trek. No. Every space horror I can think of just goes batshit wild, and it's awesome. And this one, freaking possession, hell in space, like space possession.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So
well, the
I
thing
guess
about space horror is that you don't have the same limitations that you would have with anything that's earthbound. You know, obviously, for the most part, the space horror things are set in the future. Space horror has all sorts of technology that you can essentially make up. Like, you know, Star Trek, they had a little thing that just like made food out of thin air. Whatever, it's space. It's the future. This exists now. I mean, if you're going to do space horror and you aren't going to have something that's set in realism, you kind of have to go batshit. Or because if you're already starting at like a here, if you don't go to here, then what's the point of the movie? I mean, I do watch a lot of space movies. I actually don't mind the ones that are on spaceships or alien planets. For me, it's the megalophobia, and I can't handle things like where it's not horror, but like it really messed with me, like the Astrada, the Brad Pitt one, or like Gravity, where they're in just like actual space.
Oh yeah, I do not like that.
But like if you're in a ship, I'm fine. If you're on an alien planet, totally cool.
Yeah.
Get murdered, get slaughtered. It's great. It's more the it's definitely void. Like the vastness in the abyss. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, did you ever read about William Shatner actually getting to go to space with Bezos?
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, what was your impression? We got to know. And he was like, I fucking hated it. He's like, the worst, most lonely feeling in the entire world. And it made me feel horrible and empty and like soulless. That's how space makes me feel. I don't like it.
Space. Oh, I would never.
So,
yeah, anything about the abyss like that, and that's the feeling that you get with megalophobia is this overwhelming insignificance of yourself in the presence of something like giant. Not being able to see the bottom of something, or just like that idea of being in space with like nothing around you, like nothing. No, that's the absolute, that's like an existential level of absolutely not full fear. Like I could not.
It's like a sense deprivation tank.
I hadn't seen this movie either, but thankfully there's not a ton of just like someone being catapulted off into space to go die alone.
So yeah, let's get into the non-spoilers, and then let's
read the synopsis.
Just start reading the
Event
plot.
Horizon, a spacecraft that vanished years earlier, suddenly reappears. A team is dispatched to investigate the ship. Accompanied by the Event Horizon's creator, William Weir, Sam Neill, the crew of the Lewis and Clark, led by Captain Miller, Lawrence Fishburne, begins to explore the seemingly abandoned vessel. However, it soon becomes evident that something sinister resides in its corridors, and that the horrors that befell the Event Horizon's previous journey are still present.
Hey, let's talk about Sam Neill for a second. Let's talk about that.
Merlin?
Man. What?
Merlin?
Sure. He's a Merlin in my heart. He's like an underrated Mr. like Scream King of the 90s. He done some great stuff. Well, Sam Neill, he's a sexy man with his eyebrows, and I love him in everything he does. And I love that this was a mini reunion for him and Clever Girl. What's his real name? Oh, Bob Peck. Wait, what? Isn't that? I thought that was the same guy. Hold on. Now my internet's.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think there was anyone from Jurassic Park in this besides.
Shit. You know what? It's one of those movies too where like the cast for it was really good, especially like at that time. Like everybody was like either an up and coming person or like an established name.
Yeah. This was one of Lawrence Fishburne's, I think, main leading roles at the time. I think one of his first.
We had The Matrix.
In The Matrix. So this was like the prime of the Fishburne mania. I don't know. Smith.
I mean, Sam Neill was definitely like the household name, which it's very crazy to think about like his very eclectic career. I mean, same with Lawrence Fishburne. They've both been in a lot of stuff. For me, Merlin, that's what I remember him growing up. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? It's the guy from Merlin. I fucking love that.
Omen, right?
He's also in Mouth of Madness.
Omen, yeah.
Yeah, Omen 3, right? Yeah, Omen 3. And okay, so Clever Girl is actually Jason Isaacs, who was actually Malfoy in Harry Potter, Lucius Malfoy.
Oh, well, then Jason Isaac is in this movie.
Yeah, that's him.
I
don't know why I thought they were the same person, but
also I always forget that certain people, that Jolie Richardson, one, that she is the daughter of Vanessa Redgrave, but also that she's British, until I'm like, I heard her talking. I was like, all right, we're not American. That's weird. I loved watching this right after I'd watched Idle Hands, because Jack Noseworthy is in both. And Idle Hands was actually 2 years later, where he's playing a kid right out of high school. Well, like a couple years ago or whatever is the line.
He's a young guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's Justin.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's a lot of Jack Noseworthy for one time, which is also like, how often do I see him? I mean, he's great, though. He's, a stage actor. He's been an actor forever, too. One person that I was excited to see was Sean Pertwee, because he was on Gotham as Alfred. And I was like, it's that guy. It's Alfred.
Alfred in space.
He looks exactly the same. But it's like 30 years later. That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, this was a big studio movie, and it was rushed into production. Like, this was something that they got a log line of an idea from the writer, though he was like, oh, what if it was like The Shining in space? They're like, sold, sir. And they're like, how fast can you get us the script? Tomorrow? And that's pretty much the origins of this.
Oh, wow.
And then they're like, the other Paul Anderson was like actually like
Paul Andersons?
PTA. The famous one, that does movies like Licorice Pizza, and
they're not the same.
No,
I only know of Paul.
No,
I don't know who this other guy is.
This is why we need Emma, because didn't know.
Paul Thomas Anderson is the fancy one. He did like Punch Drunk Love and Phantom Thread and Licorice Pizza.
Never seen that.
I think he likes to smell his own farts.
He probably does.
What is it? W.S. Anderson is the guy who's given you Resident Evil, and he likes the video game movies a lot.
Yeah,
which is very apparent in this one as well.
I love Mortal Kombat.
When he got ready to do this movie, though, the world was his oyster at this moment. He could have done X-Men before Bryan Singer took it over. He could have done Mortal Kombat 2. He had options. And he was like, hell no, want to do this crazy space movie for Paramount.
Damn.
And so when he took it over, he was like, he consulted with my boy Clive Barker because he really wanted to bring that Hellraiser element to it.
Yes.
So I know everyone always says it's Hellraiser in space, but it was meant to be 100%. Yeah. And they had like many discussions about how to accomplish that.
That's so cool.
I know. I'm like, that's like the raddest thing to me, like the idea of them collaborating. And I'm like, I wonder what it would have been like if Clive Barker had done a pass on that script.
Yeah.
Like, I would have been there for that.
What I want to know is why so many people love this movie. If you ask, because I know you did a survey too, but when I think of space horror, Event Horizons, pretty much besides Aliens or Alien, is the number one that people love. And I don't go by Rotten Tomato scores, but it has such a low Rotten Tomato score that I just don't get it. I don't get it.
I mean, and that kind of goes into the history of it too. That's really interesting is that, they had a ton of money. I think they had like $60 million to make this movie.
Wow.
They had a writer who wasn't 100% on board with finishing the script. Apparently he had a death in the family and it was a dark time for him in his life. And it was like executives like pushing for this draft. And then they were like, okay, we're going to go. They shoot this movie, Pinewood Studios, take over the whole thing. I think Kubrick was there shooting Eyes Wide Shut at the same time. Like, real fancy. And then they go to wrap this movie. And by the way, while they're shooting it, lots of shit goes wrong. Pyrotechnics like almost kill everybody.
Oh gosh.
People get injured. But as they're getting ready to wrap the movie, they find out that Titanic is about to be pushed because it's not done.
No.
So they're like, remember that like 10 weeks you have a post-production? Just kidding, it's only 4.
Oh no.
So they rushed the edit. They rushed it hard. They did test screenings. The test screenings did not go well. The edits were a mess because they didn't have enough time. They didn't have the effects done. The gore, from what I understand, I mean, there's no way to prove it because the footage is missing, was absolutely like X-rated. Like they hired porn stars to basically do like shunting.
Yeah. I love that scene.
I guess the gore was a lot. So they had to cut all of it. The cut that we have, that we've all seen, is like something that's been like framed from like an inch of its life.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Literally.
So it had that against it. And then it was going up at the time. You look at it, it was going up against Alien. You know, that's what people had to like compare it to.
Yeah.
And I think then you're not going to get the reaction that it's grown into now, where we've had tons of other space horror. We have lots of other things to be like, oh, wow, this is actually a really good movie. And I also think that it suffers from, you know, just the rush of trying to get it out fast. Like, I don't think that they you know, promoted it properly. I don't think that they took their time doing any of that. I read an interview where Paul W.S. Anderson showed a cut of the movie to Kurt fucking Russell, who was in the thing. And Kurt Russell's like, yo, maybe this movie isn't what you want for a reaction right now, but give it 20 years. And look at what happened.
Look what happened.
It's a cult classic. I would love to see a restored version. I really would.
It's too bad Critters 4 couldn't have the same reception. So it's one of my favorite space horrors.
I do think it would definitely benefit from a restoration. No, hearing a little bit more about the rushed post time, I think allows me to forgive a couple things, which it's not like I was going to hold it against the movie. It was just, oh, this is a sign of the times, you know, later end of the 90s, CGI was new. And there's certain things when they used it where I was like, dang, that looks so bad. But the practical effects hold up. They look great. But also, I think one of the things which maybe now that I've been, you know, it's like one of those things where you're behind the camera, you've been staring at like editing and stuff for so long, the color. And I think if they adjusted the coloring of this movie, it would actually make it a lot more horror. Because one thing that bothered me is that it's, as far as a horror movie goes, it's really bright. It's like lit, but that's a sign, not like lit. It's like shiny.
Yeah, it's very, there's not a lot of shadows. There's not any of that chiaroscuro lighting.
Yeah.
And you know, but a lot of that is the era, and I mean, look at the rest of his movies. They all kind of look like that too. Yeah. Like Resident Evil ain't skimping on the shadow. It's like, it's a pretty
but Resident Evil wants you to see the monsters. And one thing, when I watched this movie, considering I'd never seen it before, it felt like a haunted house. Like this felt like a the whole movie, from the way that they set up the shots, from the way that it's a ship. So like you are going to get that little bit of claustrophobia maze thing, and the way that all of the scenes in it, which like I won't describe them. We can describe them later, but just like the way that they have set dressing on the ship where they're, you know, showing you what's happening, plus the way that the kills are laid out felt very presentation. It felt very haunted house to me. And I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm saying it like, because I think that's also with the lighting and the a lot of the choices that they made also utilizing lighting for scares felt kind of haunted house. And I think, you know, when Paul W.S. Anderson does the Resident Evil movies, it is a lot of that, like, look at my monsters that are jumping out. You know, Umbrella Corp is all underground, but you're seeing all of it. It doesn't make it a bad movie. There's still fun zombies that are coming out at you from all ends. And this was kind of that same thing of like, I mean, you're still on the ship. It's still going to be creepy, but I want you to see it all versus have it like, surprise.
Yeah. And as I said, I feel like that's a stylistic choice. Like I didn't think a lot of his movies that have that kind of 90s, like bright, everything from that era kind of reminds me of The Matrix.
I was literally going to say, it's just that, that kind of techie, bright, aesthetic.
Especially there was one part, which we won't get to yet, but we'll be like, this is the Matrix scene.
We are about an hour in. Do you want to start, or is there anything else for non-spoilers, or should we just get right into it?
Well, I think that one thing that was when I first looked on IMDb and I was like, okay, well, how long is this movie? Like, what time do I have? And it said 1 hour 30 or 2 hours 10. And I was like, huh?
Oh.
Where's the 2 hour? What am I about to watch? What's 2 hours and 10 minutes? But I'm guessing that means, is that the lost cut? Or
yeah, the director's cut does not. From what I understand, they thought it was lost. Apparently, a producer found a VHS copy of the director's cut, but neither him nor the director have actually like sat down to watch it to make sure that's what it is. But that is, as far as I know, the only possible copy of the director's cut. Everything else is lost.
Yeah,
it's like, it exists. I don't want to look at it, but I have it. Like,
I think that it was that there was like, oh, we're going to sit down and watch this together. But they are both, working filmmakers who don't have a VCR handy or have been on the same, continent in a while.
I would have loved to see that video sequence in full.
Yes.
That would have been
all
amazing.
But where is Paul W.S. Anderson now? Because he hasn't done a movie since 2020.
Married to Mia Jovovich.
I would not do anything else but be married to her as well. I'd be like, I have peaked in life.
Occupation, married to Mila Jovovich.
He also said in some interviews that I was reading that because Paramount was the company who puts out Star Trek, they were like offended by his movie. They're like, "What have you done to our space? Space is Star Trek. You're
final
like,
frontier is
what
destroyed.
Have you done to the final frontier?
Like Star Trek." And he's like, "Other things can be in space. What?"
No, they can't. Only Star Wars and Star Trek. Get it right.
I watched so much Star Trek growing up. My mother owned all of the original series on Laserdisc, so we definitely watched a shit ton of it. And I mean, I'm not like a Trekkie now, but some of the episodes that stick with me are the scary ones. And even I remember when I watch space stuff like Doctor Who, the best episodes are the ones that are horror related. But they had, like, Star Trek did have horror elements. It wasn't the prevailing aspect of it, but it was a big part of it.
Anyway, we should probably call it for what it is. We're going to Spoiler Town.
Spoiler Town with the society orgy.
Yes,
with
in space. If you don't want to learn more about shunting, turn this off. Go watch Event Horizon on Showtime. Come back, push play, finish the episode with us.
It's also on Paramount.
I have to look up. You keep on saying shunting, and I don't know what it is, but I'm so afraid for my search engine right now.
I'll show you.
From Society, when they like shunting, when they like put, it's like basically like fishing for all your body parts.
Mute the mic.
Annabelle's into shunting, she told me. No,
she's into it.
Annabelle?
She seems super hyped. Like, it's also apparently part of the railway system, all right? So,
well,
Google will not tell me.
That can make sense in some ways. Nope.
No, it's like,
town in space.
It's a sexual act where you put your body parts inside other body parts. Like,
Google is not telling me any of that. Google's like, no, it's not. You pervert.
No, you didn't see anything. We started in 2015. The year
of 2047
of Back to the Future, too.
Isn't it crazy that in 1997, 2047 was 50 years, and now you're kind of like, I might be alive for that. Dang it!
Oh my gosh!
I don't want to think about it.
I don't.
Nope,
I can't.
Not here for that.
Nope. Mm-mm.
All right, so our movie starts off in 2047 with a distress signal received from. You guys can tell it. I don't want to tell it.
I do want to. I know we didn't say the tagline is a haunted ship, a missing crew, an infinite evil. Which, like, the haunted ship, like that. I think that kind of puts it into that whole
I like
haunted
it.
house. But it's a haunted ship now.
So
Did you guys think this movie was going to be hornier?
No.
I was, I was hoping.
I thought there were sex scenes in this movie.
No, well, technically, I guess, for brief instances. But
That's why they cut it out.
so, in 2047, a distress signal is received from the Event Horizon, and it's a starship that disappeared during its maiden voyage to Proxima Centauri? Sure. Proxima Centauri. Proxima Centauri. Nope. It's 7 years earlier. And it mysteriously reappears in orbit around Neptune. And so everyone's on the Lewis and Clark because they're a rescue vessel and they're dispatched to investigate. That's how it starts. And it starts with your typical font, like futuristic, like type font about what's going on. And Captain is sexy Lawrence Fishburne. Did I say Fistburn?
Fistburn. And now we know where your brain's at.
Sexy Lawrence Fishburne.
Before we go too far, I gotta say, I know we're talking about bad effect shots, but that opening shot of Sam Neill when he like gets up and like you see him and it flips around, that's actually a really cool shot.
That's a really cool shot.
Well, I think the only bad effects right off the bat that gets me was the bad CGI. Was the eyeballs, which
I mean, there's a lot of bad CGI, but that was I would say that shot was the money shot. That was a really good shot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've got Dr. Weir, Sam Neill, on board of this ship, and they're like, we're gonna get the Event Horizon. They're like, no way, the Event Horizon is gone forever. No. And he's like, no, it wasn't, because I know how to fold time and space in half, like a paper.
I'll show you on the porn poster, but like,
and so they're just like,
one happiness.
Oh yeah.
I'll go to deep space to go save a spaceship where everyone's probably dead anyway.
Yeah.
Cool, bro.
And then you have your medical technician Peters, which is actress Kathleen Quinion is her name. She was the short-haired brunette, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was missing her son's, was it her birthday or Christmas or something?
It was a birthday.
It was a birthday.
Well, no, the video was from a birthday. She was saying she had to miss Christmas and her ex was going to take him.
So they're not too pleased. They're kind of annoyed about this.
Yeah, because they're supposed to be off. They're like, I wasn't even supposed to be working today.
Yeah. And then Dr. DJ.
Richard T. Jones, who played T.F. Cooper, like he does his reactions and, he's the comedic relief in this movie, but he also has a great charm and the way that he is just like a real guy, but also I want to hang out with him and roll my eyes at things he says, but like roll my eyes with, this guy. He was my favorite in the whole movie.
I love him. And
everyone else could die, but I wanted him.
Well, you're in luck because he doesn't.
But him, and then you have Jack Noseworthy, who's just like the young guy on the ship. They call him
Bear.
Baby. Justin is he's like Peter's surrogate son, right? Kind of like she sort of views him son-like.
I think they all sort of do.
Oh yeah,
like because he's like
treat him like a kid.
Yeah.
They're all protective of him because he's young, and of course, she's. She has the mom part where she's like, stop throwing things indoors or like something like that, which just to really and then they have the video where she's watching her son. So they're just reaffirming the characters' roles, like a very right maternal. From the get. They tell you this is who this person is. Sam Neill is a dick. Oh, I mean, he's a scientist, but he's also a dick.
He's also a dick.
Hate that guy.
And
hate
then you
him
have
the whole movie.
DJ, which is Dr. Lucius Malfoy. Dr. Malfoy, you got him.
He's the doc guy. You got Sammy Smith, who's like, I'm British and I'm a pilot and I'm kind of like British. From the I don't know, like the tough guy. And Lawrence Fishburne is like instant. The second he opens his mouth, he's in charge.
Yeah.
He's captain.
That's right. Oh, and then Dr. Weir's wife, because right off the bat, we got our first vision with his wife, because he wakes up and then he takes the photo of the wife. And then he walks out and you know that she's
You know
gone.
that bitch dead.
Yeah, that bitch is dead. Opens her eyes and she has no eyes with that great 90s CGI effect.
Well, he has a shrine to her, which, you know, so glad in 2047 we're still using physical media.
Hey, you know, it's going to come back. It's retro, okay?
Save your photographs, everyone. Apple owns the rights to your photos and they can take them away from you at any time.
True.
So
Get a Polaroid camera.
start taking photos. Oh, and of course, British but not British woman. We didn't talk about Jolie Richardson, the communications officer. Hot blonde.
The hot one.
Hot blonde.
The hot blonde.
Gotta have one.
So they're getting ready to go to find, what is it? My brain isn't working. How do I
The
use
Event
words?
Horizon.
The Event Horizon, you know, the title of the film, by going in their little like liquid pods,
Your
space travel,
tanks.
your space tank. And then he wakes up first. He wakes up early once they arrive.
He fake wakes up.
Yeah,
And it's like, and then it's not real. And then he wakes up for real, but he's not the first person. Everybody else is awake. He essentially has a nightmare.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
They are really in water tanks. You see their hair floating.
Yeah.
That looks horrifying to me.
Come out
Stop
as
it.
prunes. How do they not come out looking like the shining old lady? Out of those tanks.
Right?
But I mean, Sam Neill comes out. Yeah, your little sexy, shirtless, however old he was, Sam Neill, with his older gentleman body, which I won't complain about because he's Sam Neill. And he does this. When he gets out, he goes, I'm ready, everyone. Let's go to Jurassic.
Well, it's also crazy to think about like what hot bods look like. When he got out, I was like, that's every 1950s hot guy.
The normal,
bad bod.
average, like older man body. And it's fine. It's perfect.
But I want to talk about the creepy like Latin phrase distress call that they get.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, I think it's saying save us or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, it is saying save us. It's Libera Tutemet ex infernus, but they only hear the first
Liberate
part.
me, or liberate me, like liberate me. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they-
like but it sounds so creepy. I'm like, I wouldn't go answering that shit.
I'll be like,
Hard pass.
why?
Nope. Mm-mm.
No, like 100% what I wrote is that Inverete me is always like Latin is a bad sign. Do not go to the Latin. Do not pick up the Cabin in the Woods rules. Do not pick up the book and read the creepy Latin out loud.
Exactly.
Do not.
especially Latin in space. That's like a whole other level.
Yeah, no.
You don't want to fuck with.
And like the whole church is like, the spaceship, I guess, for Event Horizon is based off the Notre Dame Church. Did you guys know that?
Ah.
Like it's got like the
Creepy mouth ship, the ship that has the Event
Yeah.
Horizon things, looks like a fucking
piranha.
Wait,
Yeah.
the Nostra.
following. They were destined for this. Watching not Prometheus, but like one of the Prometheus, it's also you follow a distress call, you die. Unfortunately, that is the rules of space, which are probably different from Scream's rules of surviving. But if there are rules for space, it is do not follow the unknown distress call. It is always a trap and you are gonna get eaten or
Just
murdered.
go and eat your space food and float and just live like that.
Yeah,
Don't answer any calls.
Don't answer the distress calls.
Just float.
You know, right away, like when they get there, there's blood on the walls and shit. Nah, I just be like, nope, there's no one here. Get the fuck out.
I know. I'd be like, nope. Sorry, no one here. Let's go home. I don't know.
But can we say how happy Merlin, the AKA Dr. Weir, was to see his baby again? Like he was just like,
Oh, I know.
oh, my ship.
Dr.
I love you.
Weir
Which like
Alan
now,
Grant.
you know, he was a little obsessed with. He's already having dreams about it before they get there. He's got this creepy ass ship that he put Roman numerals and Latin all over. And then he's like, yes, this is my creation. I did this. I am so pleased. I even the cocky little line of like, how do you know so much? Because I made her.
I made her.
But like, but it was never his intention to like make something that opens portals to hell or anything, right?
I see. That's why I wanted to watch this from start to finish, because I don't remember if it wasn't his intention or it was all along. I don't remember. I don't think it was. I don't think
No, he was trying to make a form of space travel. What he's saying is, what's the quickest point from point A to point B? And then Justin goes a straight line. He's like, actually, it's when I fold this paper in two and I make a black hole connecting it. Obviously, you dunce. Like, which is so. I hate this dude.
It had no nefarious.
No, he just wanted to make a quicker form of space travel so that they could go and do all these things. You know, they said that, you know, we're already been to the moon, we've already terraformed Mars, and now we need to keep going and keep doing these things. But it takes too long. So how do we do it? Well, we're going to make a black hole, and we're going to make point A to point B. So it wasn't about creating anything. At least from what they say, he didn't get corrupted in the get. But corruption happens when you f around with forces that you don't understand.
Yeah. Fair.
So is this when Justin? That's when Weir sees the eyeless vision of his wife, and she's like, "Join."
He's already seen it.
Oh my gosh!
Basically, where I think we're at is. Two of them go one way, and Justin goes by himself to the engineer end of the thing.
Yeah.
So they get on the ship. One thing they say before they even enter the ship, which is very ominous and creepy, is the comms officer, our blonde. She said they scan for life forms, and she's like, "There are life forms, but our ship can't pinpoint them. They're everywhere. The whole, essentially." The whole ship is it's a ghost ship. The whole ship is the life form, which I was like, ooh, I did like that. I really like that. Because at first I also was like, are there life forms, but they're all just going to be dismembered and just like, but still alive and floating? Like, that's kind of where I thought why they couldn't pinpoint it, because everyone's just been like, bloop. But when they get on, they are seeing, they do that walkthrough, and you see the skull that's been embedded into the walls in this like very, very, very bright red med bay that they first enter into, and you see all this other horror stuff. And that's my favorite part, is when he's in there and he's just like, all right, well, let's go find the crew, and then the hand just comes and does like a gentle caress. I love that jump scare. And then the hand's just like, goodbye. And then they split up. So Justin's gonna go to the engine, which is the core. The doctor has to stay on the other ship. Lawrence Fishburne's like, absolutely not. You're staying on, which is definitely like the right call, even not knowing that this guy sucks. And everyone splits off. You know, you're going to the med bay, you're searching for survivors, and we're trying to figure out if we can restart the ship and figure out what happened to everybody. So they break horror movie rule number 2, don't split up. And it leads to poor little baby bear, which I wrote down, maybe don't touch the black hole. What is it with people when wanting to touch things that are sticky?
It's like,
and like,
birds to
obviously,
shiny
like, don't touch it.
If it's there, you want to touch it.
But also that room, I think that was one of the parts I wrote where I think the reveal would have been a lot better if we saw a lot of it, but then the music queued up into a huge reveal. But we'd already seen most of it, so that was kind of confusing. Like, why did we get this like and this huge visual of something that you already kind of showed us the whole thing? That was just me. I think it like distracted from the visual of
it
like. It
looked like it had nipples all over it. I think the intent was to be like the puzzle box from Hellraiser.
Yeah,
very much.
Yeah.
Especially when the rest of the room was like very dangerous pointy spikes everywhere.
Yeah.
Of like, but why? Because at this time they had gravity boots, but like technically everything else was floaty, which was a lot of that CGI of look at this liquid.
I love all that CGI. It's like Alex Mack. CGI.
Oh, we can't forget the corpsicle.
Oh yeah, the one that
gotta have a corpsicle.
I feel like so many space movies have a corpsicle or just some body that breaks into pieces, and it looks awesome.
So cool to see it. I love corpsicle.
That's my metal band name.
Maybe this was something that got lost in the cut too, but like, how was the crew one full body and one hand? Like, where were the rest of the parts?
They
dragged
were
to hell.
The butts of the shunting.
They were all combined into that one guy. They call him.
So this is when Justin becomes catatonic, right? Because Lawrence Fishburne jumps down. He's like, Justin.
No, Cooper does it.
He does that twice. So, oh wait, no, Lawrence Fishburne.
No, you're thinking later on. Justin, they pull Justin out because he's still tethered.
Yeah,
and that's how they get him. But when they open him up, he's catatonic. And you think he's going to like go into one of those spikes, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
And then they turn the gravity off and they get like drenched in water, which is just like,
It's
And there's also like,
astrophysics.
but when he touches the thing, it makes a bunch of shit explode, and it fucks up Lewis and Clark ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything explodes. People get thrown into like Lawrence Fishburne's character gets thrown into like a tech thing, and sparks fly on the ship, which is Alfred, the blonde, and the doctor. Everything explodes, and they have to leave. And all of a sudden, oh no, your Lewis and Clark ship is not inhabitable anymore. You have to go on the ghost ship. And I just really love that. What's his Sean Pertwee's character Smitty was just like, I am not going on this goddamn ship. It is not happening. And they're like, okay, well, if you don't, you're gonna die. But he's the smart one. They don't listen to the crew members, but because like throughout the whole movie, there's the underlying theme of the scientists being like, I know better than all of you, and all of them being like, no, you idiot. This is a bad idea.
He looks.
Should have listened to Smitty from the get.
Smitty. Jeez.
Oh, I also wrote down that their magnetic boots, when they do go on and they're like activate magnets and they all like clomp to the ground. It's like Steve Madden shoes, very 90s, very slay, like just like bonk. Loved it. I would have gone for the Event Horizon fashion show.
The Event Horizon fashion show.
Okay.
Please do it. Can everybody have magnetic shoes?
Space horror, sexy aliens, Event Horizon. Oh, but I also him walking to the core, that tunnel that's spinning, that is which came first? Haunted houses doing it or this movie doing it? Because that is a staple in every haunted house.
I thought the same thing.
Like a fun house. Yeah.
Yes. Spinny tunnels, which like every time I go through those spinny tunnels, I like they do mess with me. Like I'm just like, oh god, my sea legs, I can't.
Now imagine floating through it with gravity.
But it was also like the danger spinny tunnel because it was all made of sharp metal. Like who designed this place?
Right,
honestly, Hellraiser. It was a haunted house designed by Hellraiser in space.
Oh, yeah, gosh, I love Hellraiser in space.
But it reminded me of Sphere, which came out the very next year. Of don't touch the giant circle thing that you found in space. Bad idea. It's gonna make you go crazy. Which and he touched it and he went into a catatonic state. So I think that's another. Don't follow the space Latin distress signal and don't touch the space circle.
Basically, just don't go to space.
Also, don't go to space.
Do it. But this is when they see the first video, right, with the captain talking. And then Dr. Kathleen Mama, what's her character's name? Peters. She sees visions of her son.
Yeah, in the med bay.
Are you okay?
Which I thought was a very good horror movie moment of the shadow in the tent. It's not a tent. It's a tarp. She sees that her son, who in the video that she's watching earlier, like he is in a wheelchair, but now she's seeing that he has like sores all over him.
So this
which
really
still looks great.
Yeah. Because I think she's the most vulnerable one. She's taking care of her like surrogate son. She sees her actual son. But she's the most emotionally vulnerable one that can be kind of influenced the easiest, I think, that's the point, because she's already distressed by seeing all this. So then they go back to the video to try to...
Well, they gather and they say, is everyone seeing shit? And not everyone is seeing shit, but enough of them...
Yeah, he's seeing the guy that burned alive.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. The rising and the being on blood, which I'm wondering if when they filmed it, they did it in a reverse, because it didn't... Some of the CGI fire looked like CGI, but some of it actually looked real. So I'm wondering, my mind is that they filmed it in reverse and had someone and then, had someone going down, but then they filmed it going up. It looked great.
There were even shots by the end of the movie where Lawrence Fishburne falls back, and he's definitely got real fire on him.
Yeah. 100%.
Holy shit, all right.
The fire that's on the face, because obviously it's not a vest or anything, it's just like a bloody face. Like that was CGI fire, but it's at least to me, or maybe it's just that's like the best CGI in the whole movie, that anytime it was like a full body thing, it was real.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's cool.
But it looked cool. It looked creepy. There was like a weird quote about the fire in space, but it's fine. And so like they're all seeing shit except for Mr. Scientist, who's been seeing shit the whole time. And it's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
everything is fire.
And then Justin starts like convulsing and seizing.
And they've had this whole thing too, where they're like, we only have 20 hours of oxygen.
Yeah. So it's like,
so they're like, every breath is killing us. Wah, wah, wah.
Well, and she says the air tastes Like, she's like, the air tastes bad here because of
Ew,
CO2.
it's dead body air.
Yeah.
There is a lot of dead body
everyone's
air.
internal CO2 from death. Ew, gross.
And that their ship is actually destroyed. There's a huge hole in the side of the ship. Yeah, they can't do anything about it. And then they have this whole like fight scene where Smitty is once again being like, why are we listening to this guy? This guy sucks. Like, come on, we should be getting out of here. Like, cares what happened to the ship? Everyone's dead. We've solved, mystery solved.
Yeah.
Everyone died. Let's go home. And instead, Sam Neill's just like so dead set on, rescuing his baby. He doesn't care what the hell happens to everybody else.
Very selfish intentions that get everyone in trouble.
I also love when when Cooper sees something and is like, I know what I saw. And Sam Neill like puts his arm and he's like, you're a little delulu. You're a little delusional, but it's okay. It happens up here. And it's just like, bro, this guy sucks.
Yeah, go to Jurassic Park, Alan. Then all of a sudden he turns around, a dinosaur shows up. Alan!
I don't know what this... Oh, I think it was for Event Horizon, just in general, where he's like, I can do this stuff. Or for Sam Neill, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Oh, because she's talking and she's like, a black hole is one of the worst things. Blonde is like, a black hole is like literally one of the most dangerous things in the entire universe. And you decide, I'm going to harness it to make space travel easier. They're all in there. They do this fight and then there's knocking at the space door. And I know I've seen it done in other like shorts, or maybe it was like a Black Mirror type of thing, but I've definitely seen it in 2-sentence horror where it's like you're all alone in space and someone is knocking at the door.
Yeah. Or you're like the last person on Earth and somebody's knocking at the door.
Yeah, hard pass. Nope.
And then of course, Sam Neill's like, I'm gonna go get that. And they're all like, no, bro, stop it. And he's just like, no, I'm gonna answer it. It's fine. That's fine. I don't want to be rude.
Who is it?
And that's when Justin's awake. And
that's when he wakes up. Yeah.
He saw some shit. This poor guy. The quote for him, if you could see the things I've seen, you wouldn't try to stop me.
And that's when he's trying to harm himself, right?
He's in the air vac.
Yeah, that scene, as a kid, which is weird saying, because I feel like today's youth, like if you think about 8-year-olds, they're not like, when I saw Event Horizon, or something. It's like,
there's better parents now.
But this was, I remember my sister, though this is very nostalgic, because that was around the time she would watch horror movies with me, and she said, oh, I'm going to show it to you, it's the scariest movie, and we had the VHS and everything. And that scene broke me because I didn't understand space. I didn't understand what he was doing, but then he started cracking and just that's such a creepy scene.
I remember seeing that. I was like at the gym on like the treadmill. That scene was just on the TV, and I was like, that doesn't look like a good time.
Nah.
It just made me really sad because he's like in the possession part of it where he's saying all these things of like, I touched it and it showed me the blackness inside me. And then as soon as he presses the button, he wakes up and being like, wait, where am I? What's going on? Let me out. And it's just like, no. And then she's watching him. She's like, baby, there, it's okay. And he's like, if it's okay, then let me out. Like, what the hell?
And that's when
Lawrence Fishburne starts doing this. Which looks a lot of fun. Him just being like,
he screams for like 30 seconds straight.
But then he's doing what he should be doing as a captain. He's like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. We're gonna help you survive this. Shut your eyes. And he's like, okay. And then blood is just. Oh, and I love the effect of his veins popping up.
Ooh, yep.
Yeah.
Because all the liquids in his body want to be on the outside of him. Yeah. They're like, I don't want to get near anymore. I'm gonna go.
See, I'm watching it right now, like in the background, just to see where we are. I see this through the lens of like my child self seeing this, and a child should not be seeing this.
I just saw myself making this face. I was like,
can we screenshot you just going,
no.
No. But he lived. I like that they're like, well, he's not going to be pretty, but he's going to be alive. Like, best we can do. Unfortunately. He went into space without a spacesuit and lived to tell about it. So good on you, Justin. At such a young age, such accomplishments.
And this is when the he started like, then all of a sudden he's sitting down, he's alone. The sphere is like, you can tell, is that the sphere? That's the energy, right? That's like the source of
the core,
the core,
the black hole.
Yeah. Because that's when you can see starting to already be a little possessy, right? At this point.
Well, right after this is when we get the body horror scene that we've talked a bunch of times about, but we get it in like a flash.
Probably
it's
the scene
so
that I think most people think about when they think about this movie is the video where they find the lost video. I think that's the crew that they were watching before, right? The one that disappeared. And it's just these really instant flashes of just the most disgusting, vile. They're like having the shunting going on, but it's bloody and there's like fists through the mouth. There's like, but oh my gosh, I want to pause it. And see, you can't even freeze frame it. You try. And if you look up pictures online too, they're just, it's so uncomfortable. Oh, it's so good though.
How many minutes did they actually film? Is it like a 30-minute segment?
I know. I wish
they're just like,
found it.
You get 1 second. That is as much as we will allow you.
Somewhere, but it's a secret.
Yeah, from what I've read, there's way more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot more of the sexual stuff of that.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of the Jason Isaacs death.
Yes.
And there's a lot of more footage of his wife.
Well, good, because in my notes, I was like, why am I not getting more of Jason Isaacs' death? That's crazy.
Apparently, you can read a quote by him where he talks about, like, they ran the camera through, like, the gore holes of his body.
Ooh.
And, like, they built all these, like, veins that came out and, like, a ton of stuff.
Go through his gore holes.
Yeah, I love. I mean, if it was done practical and they actually ran it through the prosthetic body that they created, that would have been sick. I get that they couldn't do it. I actually do think if they'd kept the sex scenes in, because I know that it's like a big part that people love and thing, but I don't know if it was necessary. They could have just kept the gore horror and not done like the torture porn.
I think that was probably more where the Hellraiser in space came to play. That whole kind of, I don't know, when you have a portal to hell in space, you get horny. I don't know. So,
but this is, so all of a sudden he gets like, I am home, shit hits the fan, everybody starts dying.
Yeah. And the first to go, unfortunately, is Peter. Yeah.
Well, Justin's dead. Justin almost dies. Justin goes through. Then is it the medical doctor?
No, I went back to before when this all happened, and it looks like it's Peter's next because they're running away, and then she's trying to follow Ghost Child. Fake.
She falls off the thing.
She falls off the thing, and that was her leg just goes like brrr. Yeah, and you see the bone, and it looks like she doesn't die right away, which almost I feel like that's like the worst death of all of them because she's just laying there and she's after that.
But she can maybe feel it.
So she's probably alive. I bet you anything, she's probably alive through the whole freaking thing until all literal hell breaks loose. And so I do not envy her. The poor woman just wanted to be there for her son's birthday.
I mean, even just for sake of time, in no particular order, we get some great deaths. We get, so Peters is gone. Isaacs, the DJ medical doctor, it very specifically reminded me of like a Rob Zombie haunted house, the one that got canceled and shut down.
I remember Rob Zombie's Nightmares or whatever.
American Nightmare.
I lost my favorite hat in that maze.
But they got shut down for being too gory, so maybe they have something in common with this movie. One of their rooms got shut down for being too gory. It was an orgy. A cannibal orgy. Apparently that is just a no-go.
Well, I'm starting my own this year, so Elissa's cannibal orgy.
Stop me if it's indie.
But no, that death though, Isaacs, I remember that vividly as a child. That one affected me the most because especially when you're that kind of visual, when you see an entire human body just empty, kind of just that is
rib spreader.
It reminds me a lot of the imagery, you know, when you get a lot of the like in Hannibal, like in the angel with like first power.
Oh, Blood Eagle,
the Blood Eagle. That's what it's called. They also do that in Midsummer. Just you got the whole chest open, the eagle, the angel,
splayed.
You know,
your ribs get splayed.
So that sucks because that's his death. You see the aftermath of, which makes it's more impactful that way. Because I wonder, like, was it slow? Was it just a quick pour? Ugh. I love that.
But I want to see the pour. I want to see the body parts flying all over the medical table. Come on.
We skipped titties, though. He Weir has another image, and they think this is right before he turns of his wife. Because his wife, we didn't mention it earlier, but his wife is no more, obviously. And it's because she hurt herself in the bathtub. And
because he was working too much.
And so there's a scene of her a ghost-possessed version of her hugging him. And I remember those were some of my first set of titties I saw on screen, and I was very confused, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. But
oh yeah, it's like his head and tits.
Yeah, it's like he's crying while she's wet, and she's like, it's at the aftermath, like ghosty wife, and it's ooh, she's trying to be like, join me, it's okay.
And that was to me, that was one of the more like shining scenes of it.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
that. Like the thing breaks, it's full of blood. Those are the two like shining scenes for me.
Yes, you could tell that there was definitely that shining in space was part of it, but the bloodletting of the elevator, but it being a glass,
so
was a huge part.
This is when Pewdie, what's his name? Pewdie?
Smitty. His name is Smitty.
I mean, his real name is something Petrie, Pewdie. I don't. My mind.
Sean Pertwee.
Thank you. I've lost my brain.
WF Smitty Smith.
So he blows up, right? He's the one who blows up.
Well, in the beginning, they talk about how there's like a fail-safe in case something happens with the ship, to separate them, so that it'd be a life raft. And it's like, oh, well, then if something went wrong, why didn't they separate? And it's these explosive devices to like make it to be two parts. And and they didn't do it. And all of a sudden, Lawrence Fishburne's and they're trying to get back to their ship. And Lawrence Fishburne's like, Smitty, one of them's missing. Like it's on the ship. We think Weir put it on the ship because he's already done his like, I'm a mysterious creature of the dark. And Smitty's like, I'm going to fucking find it. He sees blood on a package and he opens it and it goes 5.
And then like by the way, I thought he was clever girl. They both look the same, him and Jason Isaacs, because at this scene, you just see it opens, it goes silent, and he's like, and I just wanted him to go, clever Weir. That was the stupidest.
It's like I watched this like interview with I think his name is Jeff Bridges the other day.
Like a different Jeff Bridges or the real like?
No, I get them all mixed up. Which one was in Dumb and Dumber?
Jeff Bridges.
Oh, Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels. Okay, so you know that scene in Speed where he like opens the thing and like sees the bomb right before it blows up, and then they cut to his face.
Fun fact: I have not seen Speed, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. Well, there's a shot where like right before he gets blown up, and he's like, my whole like everyone talks about my acting in the scene, which is pretty much the same shots as Event Horizon with Smitty. And he's like, I took my inspiration from Roy Schneider seeing the shark in Jaws, where he like,
Scheider.
Calm down. Roy Scheider from Jaws, like he clenches his face muscles, and then as soon as he sees a shark, he like lets them drop.
I'm sorry.
Now I keep doing it all the time.
Emma, the audio in your phone makes it sound like you have braces and you're talking like this. I love it so much.
I'm trying to flex my face muscles like Jaws.
No, I love it because it's the realization. So his face, like when someone says like your face fell. Yeah. So that's like physically he made his face fall in order to get there.
It's so real too. Like literally just the.
I love that part. I thought he did a really good job.
There's the open scene. It just showed up. Yeah,
of him like accepting death. Yeah. I think that was a really good part of him. It just being like, okay.
Every time they do that in movies, it's so real reaction, because you'd probably react that way too, because it's like you have no other choice. You're just like, okay,
fighter. It's not fight or flight. It's acceptance or flight. Some people are like they'll try to flee, but he had 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where the fuck was he going?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I was like, no, my second favorite character, no Alfred. I also have that he the slow turn in the diabolical captain's chair is my next note.
Is that when Fishburne comes out? Mr. Fishburne comes out, and Sam Neill has no eyes at that point.
Oh, his eyes are
or they're
like all scarred shut because he's already doesn't have eyes.
Because fake
they do like the 90s CGI no eyes, and then it's what happened to your eyes? Where we're going, we don't need eyes.
Oh, and I could have. Don't even get me started. I swear to God, I thought he was going to say, where we're going, we don't need roads or eyes.
But it's you do.
I really wish that was a Back to the Future reference for no reason at all. I really wish.
Oh, where we're going, we won't need eyes to see.
But yeah, that line though, if you really think about that, that's chilly.
But this is when it went all Hellraiser.
So the only two alive or supposedly alive right now are I was about to say King Fishburne. Captain Miller and
Hot
Blonde.
Blonde.
No, Cooper's alive too. He's just
we don't know
Cooper's
that
been
yet,
fixing the ship. So
Yeah,
he's
we don't
not
know that
on
yet.
the ship. He's in space.
Yeah, he blew away and tumbled, so we think he's dead.
He gets to come back for the final showdown with No-Eyed Sam Neill and
no, I'd say
Lawrence Fishburne and
yeah, because Sam Neill is just full on 100%. Like he's about to start the shunting possessed. Like he is it. Like he is.
He's like, let's party.
Personification.
Well, he's the
I would
reason-
join him.
he's like this. So then Cooper comes back and he's going to save everybody. And then Sam Neill's like, I actually have a space harpoon. Don't worry about it. It exists.
Not just a regular harpoon, a space harpoon. Okay, get them right.
It's just a thing, but like it literally looks like an all black version of like the Killer Clowns from Outer Space gun. Like he's just like, I have a harpoon, shoots a window, and the guy's like, oh no, window, goes away, and then the window, we get the full explosion, and then Sam Neill's character, just gets sucked into space. Which my note was, no, he deserves a way worse death than that, because fuck that guy in particular. He does not get to die in space. I need to see it.
At that point, I was kind of like living in this ICP, like, magnets, how does that work? Like, space, how does this work? Like, there's a lot of gravity that's very confusing to me right now, or lack thereof.
Also, the fact that there's no things, this guy was in gravity and instantly froze almost to death and his body exploded, but they're kind of indoors and therefore they get to live just because they're holding on tight. Like,
I'm trying to see.
Also, there's gravity that they're holding on to. I'm so confused.
They're both holding on different angles, and Sam Neill is about to fly off. He just flies off. And yeah, that's when he I love all the space tumbling scenes because it's all slow motion and they're all just like the space tumble.
Oh, yeah, then we get the shining red doors for Lieutenant Stark, who's our blonde, our heroine.
Oh, that I hate that it took us 2 hours to finally say her character name.
Because we've just been calling her a blonde. We are sexist, guys.
Listen,
okay,
it's 1997. Totally.
We didn't invent these characters. They give her like 2 lines, yet she's the hero of the movie. What?
No, because she's the one who realized that it was a creature. She's the one who's like, no, the ship is a life force. Like, she's the one that they should have been listening to the whole time. And they're like, and Lawrence Fishburne's like, I don't have time for your nonsense. She's like, well, you asked for my opinion on what was wrong. Yeah, but I don't like your opinion, so I'm not going to listen to it.
By the way, okay, I don't know if you can hear it, but does Anna sound like she has a giant retainer in her mouth when she talks right now?
No.
It's because it was blurry, so I couldn't see, and because the audio distorted, it just sounded like you just have this retainer, and it's perfect.
God,
we sound like our child versions of ourselves, and it's perfect.
I did have a giant retainer.
I wish you're like, no, there's no retainer, and that's why it's blurry, so you could put your retainer in.
So, at the time, for some stupid reason, we decide that we're going to go back to the space sphere core room, which, like, yeah, the thing that's been causing us all this trouble, let's definitely go explore it some more. And that's when Lawrence Fishburne's gets the fire, because Sam Neill's character, oh no, he's already been on fire, but Sam Neill's character magically reappears, full on Pinhead variation. He's all cut up, he's bald now, he's got some goth makeup on, he's done his glow up.
Here for it.
And he gets kind of like, I'm in charge now. I am the ship. She is me. The ship wouldn't let me leave because we're lovers. Like, it was so funny. Well, this guy went through some transformation. He has forgotten about his dead wife because he's got the ship now.
Oh, Cooper's back.
He's moved on.
Yeah, he's like,
Lawrence Fishburne's like, I'm gonna save the day. But I was really disappointed that no one got impaled on the spikes. I was just kind of waiting the whole time.
I mean, they did in the video. There's a lot of impaling in the video, but yeah, in real,
but like, we don't really.
Real time,
I just wanted those. I was like, why'd you give me these spikes if you weren't going to kill anyone?
Big old tease.
Why'd you build this?
But don't worry, we have Chekhov's explosives all over the fucking ship.
All over the ship. We are stocked and ready to blow this baby up at any given notice.
I want Anna.
This totally wasn't going to come back later.
But we can't forget, do you see? Do you see?
Okay, but were you guys like, did your brains kind of melt for a minute? Because they're saying, do you see? But then Lawrence Fishburne ended up being Jack Crawford 20 years later.
Yes.
That was so Hellraiser, all of those lines.
I don't even
Do you
remember
see?
this.
Do you see? There it was so weird. I was like, where is this coming from? Why are we so focused on your eyeballs, man? They're so focused on eyeballs in this movie.
Is that before or after the shining space elevator blood?
After the blood space elevator.
I'm behind, man. I'm still enjoying this while we're talking. It's like my own little slumber party here. Oh, there it is. Do you see?
Oh, yes. And then it's like, I don't see shit. Boom. Explosion. Love it.
Yeah. Do you see? And then it goes back to the... Oh, yeah. I love it. I highly encourage everyone to go on Google and look up screenshots of all of these very fast flash images because they're actually really creepy.
And then he's like, yes, I see a bomb that I explode.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And then, of course, we go back to our wonderful fake out with Cooper and Stark and Justin, who they're like, all right, well, this guy's not doing great, but everybody else survived, and magically they're in these green tubes now.
So wait, Justin did survive. So the three of them actually survived. Okay. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Justin survived, but he was in bad shape.
Oh, I thought it was one of those things where they forgot about him, like he died, and it was just like assumed.
No, they scanned the thing. Look,
okay,
looks like this one has a lot of damage, but it's alive.
That's right. Okay.
They put him in a pod because when they talked about going back to the ship, the doctor's like, he's not safe enough for me to take out, but I can transport him in the pod. And they're like, cool, do it. Let's go.
Okay.
We're just getting out. So they do live. And then they have these like crazy stormtrooper black masks that they're wearing for these rescue teams. And then Darth Vader pulls the thing back and he's like, reveal. I'm Sam again. Or Weir. I'm Sam Neill. All messed up,
so
and then she wakes up, and it's like, just kidding, you're fine.
No, you're fine.
But
are you?
Yeah, it's one of those movies. You're like, I think you're all going to hell now.
Yeah.
I think like some of the good quotes that we didn't get to. It's as if the ship brought back something with it, a life force of some kind. So, like, is this an alien movie? Because technically, it's like a life force that came out of the black hole and possessed a ship. And then started possessing anyone who was in, around, or tied to the ship.
I feel like it's probably
kind of an alien.
It's one of the only that I can think of anyway. I think it's the only space possession movie. Space hell, like hell.
Sphere.
Like I haven't seen that. Is that a possession
Sphere.
movie? Oh,
it came out a year later with Samuel L. Jackson and
I didn't
Dustin
know that.
Hoffman
Okay.
and what's her name?
She's my favorite actress.
With the legs.
What's her name? I have a question. Mary F. Ghost, Lawrence Fishburne, the captain in the video, or Sam Neill as the fucked up possessed Sam Neill, or Jason, or Dr. Malfoy. Dr. Malfoy, I guess. She froze. She got really excited. I would say I would marry Captain Fishburne. I would have. I mean, Jason Isaacs, obviously, but I'd make him wear the Malfoy wig in character. And then I would F Sam Neill, but then when he got possessed, I'll kill him. Ghost him. Then when he got possessed, I'll ghost him.
Oh, she's gone again.
She got really offended.
Is she dead? I'm not into anyone in this movie. They all...
Not even
just my
Hot
BFF
Blonde, who
Cooper.
doesn't have a name?
No, just BFF. Me and BFF Cooper.
BFF Cooper?
We're not into that. We're just besties. I actually think this movie was... I don't think it needed any of the sex. I'm just like, I just want it to be like a straight up weird horror movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying like, don't, sexual repression, like, whatever, do you. But like, I think there was already so many cool things that like, it didn't even need it. It had such good body horror. And I don't even like body horror, but it had a great body horror, it had great effects. It was in this creepy thing. It had possession. Like it already had so much.
It really did. No, it's such a great movie. I don't know why. I guess Emma addressed it earlier, but it's just kind of sad that it has such a bad rating. So I think newer audiences who've never seen it, I think a lot of them unfortunately rely on things like Rotten Tomato meters and stuff like that aren't by any means a good basis on if a movie's enjoyable or not. But they might get deterred by that thinking, oh, it's just, another throwaway movie. But I actually think there's a lot to this, especially the time it came out. And because at that time there was just like Critters 4, Leprechaun in Space, which, me, those are my favorites, but I know they're not, quality mainstream films. So
well, but there's also I know I tried to watch this movie a while ago and I didn't make it very far. The eyeball CGI did. I was like, God, if this is what the whole movie's going to look like. Other than that, it does start really, really slow. So I did not make it super far into this movie. I don't even think I made it so far that they were on the event horizon. So I'm glad I rewatched it, and I'm glad that I know all the behind the scenes stuff because it does change my perspective on the movie. I think it deserves a lot more. If we got to see the full cut and they did a remaster, I think it'd be great.
That'd be so cool.
Especially if they did it as a live screening. Yeah. I think it would get a lot of attention and people would really love it. And it does deserve a lot of credit for being a horror movie that's in space and is doing something different. One thing that I saw that people were talking about online about it was like, is it a religious movie? Is it not? Is it actually a portal? Did he actually open a portal to hell? Right. Or is it just this is what's on the other side of the black hole? And is science reaching too far? Yeah. And we're actually opening our own version, like a different version of hell.
Right. I mean, science is scary. Science and the universe is terrifying. And I think it's meant to be unexplored, at least at this time, for a reason. Just like the deep sea. Deep sea, don't get me near that.
Look, we're on letting the black holes be.
That's okay.
Well, basically, the last thing we said was that there was someone talked about online that did he open a portal to hell?
Oh, I think he ripped a hole into hell.
Through he finally found his hole. And wait, I said that wrong. He made the space hole. I'm too dirty to say what I'm trying to say.
You are.
If we were fuck, marry, killing, I'm gonna fuck Justin's ears. I'm gonna marry.
Wait, did you say his ears?
Yes. I'm gonna marry Hot Blonde because she lives.
Yes.
Smart.
And I'm gonna kill fucking Mom because she annoys the shit out of me.
You're gonna ghost her because just in case. Ghost. Yeah. Ghost Mom.
Ghost Mom.
Ghost Mom. Anyway, that was Event Horizon. Yay!
Space, the final frontier where you don't need eyes.
This is gonna be a fun month.
I'm excited. We need the fun month. I think space has some great movies in space.
It's got to be a treat. It's got to be something
great to me. If I have my way, I'm going to talk about the most amazing of them all. Academy Award winner Angela Bassett in an Academy Award winning film, Critters 4.
All right. Well, on that note, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to tune in next Thursday for another Spaceship Slaughter hot
Space Jam. Space Jam.
Space Jam.
Space Jam Slaughter. So if you enjoyed this episode, if this is your first time, we usually meet in person, and this was a nice little experiment. But if you enjoyed our little discussion, we have a Patreon where we discuss more, and we get very inappropriate, and it's awesome. So
you'll see all the things that we had to take out of this episode because they were way too inappropriate for YouTube.
We basically reenacted the video in the movie because it's missing. We did it for you. No, we didn't, but we might have. So
don't make promises you can't keep.
You got to subscribe to find out. If you become a Patreon, though, there's a lot of perks there. So be on the lookout for that, and we would surely appreciate it.
Follow us on our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and for all of our short form for new horror news, as well as gaming and events.
Like, subscribe, click the bell. I don't have any notes because we're in the middle of a brownout in 110-degree weather at my house.
Brownout?
It's getting sweaty, so let's do this.
Yes. So on that note, sweet screams, everybody.
And whatever you do,
don't fall asleep first.
Hail space, say Satan.
Hail space, Satan. Space Satan.